Hi my friends, it's the 19th of June 2022. It's only 2 days to the winter solstice here in Queensland, Australia. The shortest day of the year is only 2 days away, the winter solstice. And it's been a very cold winter. It's been freakishly cold, record cold. First day of winter was June the 1st. Yeah, today's June the 19th. And yeah, winter came 2 days before June the 1st actually, with some really wicked howling westerly winds, freezing cold coming up from Antarctica. And I just wanted to give you just a quick little video about hot mulching to keep your tropicals warm in bitterly cold weather like we're going through right now. And yeah, these are some of my potted papayas. I really should have put these in the ground months ago. They really needed to be in the ground, but you know, there's always reasons why you can't do what you want to do. And for me especially, I don't have enough ground. I need to open up all this ground out the back here. I've got the room, but I just got to get a bobcat in there, and I can't afford that at the moment. So yeah, I've got these potted up papayas, and well, it's not good for them to be in the pots for too long. They'll never get as good, but they can still do quite all right. You know, it's still worth keeping them and planting them, even if they've been in a pot for a year or more. And yeah, these have been in a pot for 6 months or more. And yeah, now it's so bitterly cold, they're really struggling, and there's not much sunlight in this yard this time of year. This little spot here is about the only sunny spot in the whole yard actually, at ground level. There's some spots that get sun for taller trees, but so yeah, I've got everything sort of cramped in this tiny little sunny spot here. And yeah, out there is the west and the southwest. Well, that's kind of southwest just there. So we get really cold winds blow in from there. So this is one of the most sheltered spots for them too, up against that fence. And yeah, protects them from the cold. Because the wind kind of swirls in here too, the cold wind. It gets in here and swirls around, it kind of hits the house and it hits those trees, and it just kind of swirls around, so it's hard to get away from that cold wind when it's really blowing in. But right up against that fence, that's pretty much the best spot. And actually, yeah, right now we got a sou'easter, which is not quite as cold. It can still be a bit cold, but not as bad as the Arctic southerly winds. But anyway, yeah, to get these papayas through a potentially very bad winter, it's really shaping up to be a shocker. And they needed to go in the ground. Well, I often plant them just straight in mulch anyway, and it works fine. But this time I'm doing a hot mulch. And this is a bit of an example of what it looks like. So I've got a small little pot sitting in a fairly big pot now, ready to be planted. And I've just filled the pots with sugarcane mulch. No soil at all, just sugarcane mulch. And it works very well. There's the bales of sugarcane mulch there. Well, the last couple I have at the moment. See, and this stuff will get hot if you add nitrogen, because there's very little nutrient in it. Yeah, that's finely chopped sugarcane mulch. Dusty too, you've got to make sure you don't breathe that stuff. Oh, I better back away. It's not good for the lungs, especially my lungs. But yeah, it's very low on nutrient. But once you add nitrogen, which I get from my dynamic lifter there, my dynamic lifter organic. Once I add a bit of that, this stuff starts to heat up, and potentially you can make the growing medium quite warm, even in the coldest of weather. You can even make it cooking hot. It just takes a bit of experimentation. But even, yeah, potentially you can make things so hot you can burn your hand if you put your hand in the mulch pile. So I don't want it that hot. But yeah, I just plant in this mulch, and this will rot down fast too. That's why I put it in a little bit higher. See, I overfill these pots a little bit because they rot down very fast. Once the dynamic lifter is added and it starts breaking down and heating up, it breaks down very quick. But usually the papayas really love it, and a lot of vegetables, all sorts of plants love it, and will grow roots in it very quick if you have a nice warm medium, like especially in winter. And that's what I'm going for. I want a nice warm medium for as long as possible. There's still going to be, potentially another 3 months of cold weather, perhaps bitterly cold, because it's been bitterly cold so far. So yeah, that's kind of give you a bit of an idea what I'll be doing. I've got these last few pots here that I'll be doing the same to. I'll be putting them all in the pot like that. And I've got some here to show you what I've done before. Here's some I've already done to give you a better idea. These are the first few I've potted up. Yet no potting mix at all, just sugarcane mulch. And see, I've just added just a tiny bit of dynamic lifter on top. I don't want too much. I just want to slowly heat that stuff up. Slowly warm that soil up. And keep it warm for as long as possible. So I'll just add a tiny bit of dynamic lifter from time to time. And see, yeah, I've got them up higher. See, I've overfilled them a bit, because that'll rot down really fast. In 3 months' time, it'll be down there somewhere, the mulch level. And it's a perfect growing medium at this stage. It's very open and aerated. The roots really love it. But as time goes on and it breaks down, it starts getting mucky. It gets very wet and mulchy when it's broken down matter. And that can get a little bit too wet for papaya. So you have to watch out for that. And you just cut back with the water. Because when it gets mucky, it sort of holds the water a lot better. Whereas at the moment, it's almost like a grow wall, a hydroponic grow wall. At this stage, it's just so open and aerated, so it needs a bit of water. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing right now, hot mulch, hot mulching. And you can do it with anything to get these through the winter. And then by spring, I'll hopefully have some room to plant them in the ground. And they'll have a real good start in spring. Yeah, see, it only gets about 2 hours of sun in there, which is very poor really, but it should be just enough to carry them through, hopefully. Because again, even here, the winter sun, it's mostly behind those trees now. It's on such an angle. It's out that way. I think it's about 3:30 now. And well, in these pots actually, these papaya are the same age as these. See, so that's what happens when you don't get them in the ground quick enough. You miss out. Because this one went in the ground at the right time. That one was a little bit later, a few months later, but it's going to be okay too. But this is that red dragon I've been talking about. the seeds I got from Sandnaz Farms, which I believe are the best papaya seed growers and suppliers in Australia. See, look at this. This tree is only 9 months old, and look at all the fruit it's putting out already. It's just amazing. It'll start setting fruit in 3 months from seed. See, and even this one I was a little late to get it in the ground. I think I planted it at about, it had been in a pot for 3 or 4 months even before I got it in the ground. And it's still just done so well. And planted again basically in sugarcane mulch. A little bit of red soil as well. There's some nice red soil down there. So I've mixed a bit of that in as well. And now that it's rooting down deep, it's going right into nice red volcanic soil. Yeah, and that one was a few months later. But yeah, this little garden here though, it only gets about an hour's sun at the moment, so it's a wonder it's surviving. That's that kangkong, Chinese water spinach. Really nice stuff, and I'm amazed at how well it's growing in such little light. And this other garden gets about, this part gets about 2 hours of sunlight. That's been a really good productive garden, all of that there over most of summer, but it's too shady now. And we had so much rain, a lot of these plants were starting to die even until just recently, because it was just getting too wet and too shady, all growing in that mulch again, although that mulch has broken down quite a bit now. See, this mulch was hot when it was breaking down, but it's not hot anymore now. But most of these plants should be okay now. Now that, well, they don't get much sun, but they're not getting too much rain, so they're getting more healthy again. But that stuff too, it's kind of a cold, mucky mulch now down below. But these kind of plants can handle that. These things are more cold tolerant than the papayas. And yeah, I've got a few more seedlings there I want to plant in amongst everything there. Got some little mignonette, I think they're mignonette, or sweet basil there. Mignonette lettuce there. I'll be planting them all in amongst this soon, because there's still quite a few gaps in there, so, and nothing's growing real fast at the moment because of the shade and the cold. And more of that kangkong. Where is it? There. That'll probably take off again. So yeah, and I got the runners of that kangkong growing in those extra pots there. I've just cut 2 water bottles back, and again filled it with sugarcane mulch, and lay a piece of this stuff. See these shoots, they're running off trying to find sunlight. Just lay a piece of that in the mulch, and they'll root soon. I can cut them off, plant them somewhere else, if I can find the space, that is. Yeah, still hoping to find the space. Yeah, well, this papaya is having a bit of bad luck in that soil. I don't know what's wrong in there. I've maybe added too much nitrogen, although it's possible it's the kerosene too. I had to add a bit of kerosene to kill that tree stump. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure, because it's not easy to overdose plants with dynamic lifter, but I've either overdosed it or there's a bit of kero in that soil still from when I had to kill off the suckers growing on that stump, the tree stump there behind. But in that spot first I planted this papaya, another red dragon, and it started dying off, so I had to pull it out and rescue it. It almost died, then came back. Then I planted this one and it did well for a while, and now it's almost dying. So I've got to pull that one out now, or it will die. And I'm planting that one back in its old spot again. And add more mulch, and hopefully this last time it'll grow through it, whatever's wrong there. If it's just nitrogen, it's not much of a problem. If I add more mulch, it'll be right. But if there is a bit of kerosene still in that red soil below it, which is also possible, it could continue to be a problem. But hopefully, even if it's kerosene, it'll flush down eventually. I didn't use much care, I only used a few squirts from the squirter bottle. So, you know, maybe it is the too much fertiliser. We were expecting a really big rain actually. The weather bureau was saying a really big rain was coming, and I put a fair bit of dynamic lifter on it to be ready for that big rain, but then the big rain didn't come. So I did have too much of it on. I did have too much dynamic lifter on top of it. So we'll just see. Hopefully I'll be able to salvage that, sort that issue out. Yeah, I've got a little chili bush there. That'll be going into a bigger pot too with straw. Just there, yeah. I'll plant that the next day or two in a bigger pot, the same as what I'm doing to these papaya. It's much cheaper just planting in this sugarcane mulch too. And especially if you're planning or hoping to put them in the ground soon, like me. I'm hoping when I get more garden space I'll be putting this chili in the ground or into a bigger mulch bed and planting all these papayas in the ground or in mulch beds on top of the ground. So yeah, this will just get me through winter. Just heat that soil up, keep them warm and happy with a hot mulch. Keep these plants warm and happy. Oh yeah, I got a bit of that Mizuma. Just planted these seedlings. That's a really interesting plant. It's really tasty. Look out for it if you can. Very delicious vegetable from Japan. I've only had it once. I grew it in the garden here, but it was too shady where I was growing it. But it still grew quite well. But it can grow into a fairly large bush and give a lot of green leaves. And it's a little bit peppery, the leaves. But it's in the Brassica family, in the cabbage family. So it's kind of got that cabbagey-like taste. But oh yeah, very delicious, very nice. I just planted these into, it was a little clump of these seedlings. I just spread them out and planted them into separate little areas. And hopefully that'll go in the garden soon. I've got a fair bit of them now, so even this is full of them, but maybe you can't see that. Yeah, I've got a few of them there. And if they get enough sun, they can potentially get quite big. And they've got a fair bit of cold tolerance too, apparently. They will even take a little bit of snow. They'll take temperatures right down to, I think, even a little bit below 0. So that's interesting, hey? Yeah, they're more of a winter vegetable. They don't like the summer much. But yeah, a lot of high in nutrients and potential anti-cancer properties in them. Yeah, that's my little asparagus bushes. Mammy sapote. I'm hoping that's going to be a warm spot for this year. It almost died on me last winter. And you can still see the old stem that died. It shot up below, further down. Yeah, really hope I can get this through winter this year. This is more of a protected spot anyway. Yeah, and this little area gets about 3 hours of sunlight, of afternoon sunlight. So yeah, it's not much. It's sort of about 3 hours here, about 2 hours up there at the beginning of the garden, and then 1 hour right up against the fence. So, but this will be the warmest spot right here, up against the fence, get the least amount of those cold winds, and all potted up within a hot mulch ready to go. Yes, I hope you find that interesting. In this little area, I'm slowly still getting on top of it, just chipping away at it slowly but surely. Yeah, and through there, that's where I want to get a bobcat in. Clear all those weeds and jungle and plant a lot more papayas and vegetables. If I can get in there, I'll start making a bit of an income. So I'll just have to see how things go. I don't have the money for a bobcat yet, but well, you know, keep hoping and praying and it could come. Yeah, my soursops here, they're all getting quite happy now. I've potted them on, got them all into bigger pots, and my pomelos in there. I've got all my pomelos potted up now. These pomelos will really like more sunshine soon. They're ready to start growing big now, really, if I can get them in the sun. And the plan is I'll be putting them out there soon when I get that area cleared more. And the soursops might stay in here a bit longer because they were in an even shadier spot for 2 years and they survived that. Ideally they would like more sun. So it's quite sheltered here under the house, but they don't like the cold. And I'm thinking it in there they're kind of a bit sheltered from the wind as well. Whereas if I put them out here, I think I'm worried that cold wind could get too hard on them. So I'll just see how things go. But yeah, it can get quite nasty in here, actually, even though it's a nice warm spot when there's no winds. But when those really howling Antarctic sou'westers come in, it can get quite nasty in here with swirling cold winds. Yeah, and that's my biggest soursop. I'm amazed how it's held on so long, because we've had quite a few nights that have got down to about 6C, I think, and they say 6C is its limits, is the soursop's limits. It doesn't like going much colder than 6C. So I imagine it's going to get quite sad looking over the next few months. It's going to lose a lot of its leaves. But then hopefully it'll come back in spring. It should do. It should come back quite nicely in spring. And so far so good. It's hanging on. It's not really growing anymore, but it's hanging on in a really bitter cold winter. Like, yeah, it's awful at the moment. It's so cold. It's just terrible. So these papayas will really appreciate this hot mulch. They're really going to like it. And that'll just help them to hang on. And they'll probably even grow a little bit with a hot mulch, even through winter. A little bit with a hot mulch and be ready to plant out in spring. Yeah. So yeah, I'm getting through this. I'm hoping to plant 4, maybe even 5 more of these red dragon papayas along that edge soon. And when I get the bobcat in here and clear out the back, then I'll be able to turn this into a vegetable garden and plant another 2 or 3 red papayas along that fence. It's the same sort of situation as that. Yeah, and extend this veggie garden all the way along. That'd be nice if I can get that done. I'll have a nice amount of vegetables then in summer. And yeah, this gets real good sun and good heat in spring and summer. Once that sun comes up over those trees, it gets real nice in here. So I'm hoping this will be a nice little area, an area for more potted plants, more potted fruit trees like that, and more vegetables and more fruit trees in the ground too. Mostly papaya. Oh yeah, I finally got a saw to cut these logs back. The last of that hedge that was just going crazy on me. It's a very hard wood, that. But I've just bought a mini chainsaw.
Wow! 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 Wow!
I'll be giving you a review of it soon and testing it on these logs, because the men who are chopping these logs were even struggling with full-size chainsaws. And I need to chop those logs out, those stumps out right down at the fence line, because they're in the way. I want to get this hardwood fence in and add it all along there to seal those gaps off and keep it warmer in here, so none of the cold wind blows in through those gaps. So yeah, I've got to cut these logs back, cut these stumps right back. And I've got this hand chainsaw. It looks really cool, hey. There's a lot of them for sale on the internet now. Slightly different varieties. I got one of the biggest. I think it's got a 10-inch chain, or maybe it's an 8-inch saw. And it's just like a hand electric drill, only it's a little chainsaw. And you see on the videos, they cut quite well. I just don't know how long they last. It only cost me about $80. And or one warning sign, I think, is you don't see the good companies making them and selling them, like Ryobi and Makita and all those good brands. They don't make any of these little hand chainsaws. It's only just unknown brands that make them. So that's a bit of a negative. It makes you wonder how well they're going to work or how long they work for. But if it works all right, it's going to be a dream. It's just so easy to handle for cutting back branches like this, cutting back smaller stuff. It's a nice little hand chainsaw. Yeah, it should be really cool. And then I can finally finish the rest of this fence. Yeah. Okay, I hope you find that interesting, my friends. Hot mulching. Hot mulching to keep your trees and vegetables warm over winter. And yeah, you can do it with a lot of different materials actually. It works quite well with hardwood chips too, and hardwood sawdust. That can get quite hot too. And again, it can get burning hot. It can get too hot, so you need to experiment with it a bit. But yeah, I find with this sugarcane mulch, just a tiny bit of dynamic lifter on top, like I've done over there with these, and that should just get it all happening. Should get the action started where it starts heating up. and it'll keep your plants much more healthy over winter. Okay, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Okay, my friends, 4 days have passed now since I potted all these up into the straw bales. It's Friday the 24th of June, and yeah, you can see things are getting better already. These papaya are getting more happy already in just those few days. Chili bush there, it's getting happy too already. All the leaves are starting to come up. Looking good. It'll give me fruit again very soon. There's one flower just there. Bird's eye chili there. Yeah, so this just gives you an idea how it looks. Now all these pots, just those small pots now in that sugarcane mulch, and just a tiny bit of chicken manure pellets you just see there, the Dynamic Lifter Organic. I don't want much. I want to try and do it real slow this time. Just add a tiny bit, and that'll slowly warm it up. My goal here is to try and keep that as warm as possible for as long as possible. So you add the extra nitrogen and it starts breaking down. Because yeah, there's still another 3 months of cold weather going on here. And often it's right at the very end of winter is the worst. So yeah, and that'll break down really quick. See, I've piled it up higher than the pots. But those pots will only be half full in 3 months' time. It breaks down very quick. Yeah, 3 months it'll just shrink down to half full and be ready to plant. Be ready to plant directly in the ground. Hopefully I'll have the bobcat in there through the back and clear all that out, so I'll have room here now to turn this into a garden then in 3 months' time. That's the plan. Once I get the bobcat through. And I'd like to turn this edge along here into more garden too, and plant another 4 or 5 papaya. But yeah, they don't get any sun along there now. If I planted them right now, and it's not ready yet, I've still got to prepare it. I'm not as rushed. I can take it slow and get the job done well. Chop a few more of those roots out, those living roots from that hedge. It just keeps sprouting up. And get it all ready to get some more of these papayas in. And yeah, it's nice here today. The nights are still being cold, but not quite as bad. But the days are just glorious now. There's hardly any wind, which is good because the wind's too cold. And right up here against that fence, it even gets hot at this time of day. It's almost 2 in the afternoon. There's still, this whole piece only gets about 3 hours sun. This veggie garden. And that bigger papaya gets a lot of good sun now. It's come up over the fence. But even these 2 smaller papayas don't get a real lot of sun yet until they get higher. But yeah, like I was saying, right up against the fence, that's starting to shade already. The water spinach under there, it only gets about an hour's sun. And then this patch gets about 2 hours of sun. And this bit's my best bit, it gets about 3 hours of sun. And so yeah, it's the best spot in the whole yard at the moment. And protected right up against that fence. Protected from those cold winds when they start howling through again soon. So I'm giving these papayas the best chance I possibly can in this situation. So, and they should be fine, I think. Yeah, they're looking happier already. I come out here to get in the sun, warm my bones up this time of day, and it's almost hot. You almost start to sweat here up against this fence, even though it's winter. Oh yeah, I pulled out that sad papaya and put that new, fresh, healthy one in. So yeah, let's hope. Hope this time it survives. I either OD'd it with fertiliser or it's a bit of Kero in the soil left over from when I killed those trees off. I hope it's not the Kero, but I built up the soil again even more. But eventually the roots will get down into that older stuff, so hopefully it's time to flush. Yeah, hopefully it's all going to wash through whatever's not right in there, and this time it'll grow. But twice it's failed. I planted this one first, and then it clapped out. So I pulled it out, planted that other one, and it did well for a while, then it clapped out. And in the meantime this one got healthy again after I pulled it out. So yeah, I've put it back in now, so I hope it's lucky this time. And yeah, the veggie garden's going better now. As I was saying before, everything was getting real sick. It was just raining too much. But it's all coming good now, getting lots of nice sun. And these veggies can withstand a bit of cold. And I've given it liquid fertiliser a few times. Yeah, see, I've planted those little lettuces now. And some more basil in amongst there. And those broccoli, I planted those. They're a bit clumped up, but that'll have to do. Also the black Tuscan kale. Just there, that's the kale in clumps. And yeah, I added this mulch. I often just add chicken manure pellets, as you can see here. But because it's so low on nutrient, it really does like some liquid fertiliser. It really responds, which is what I've done now. All the veggies are going to love that. I've given it Maxi Crop and some dynamic lifter, not Maxi Crop, Sea Sol. I always say that, get it wrong. Sea Sol. Maxi Crop was the first seaweed fertiliser to come out. I always mix it up. I used to use it a lot once. But now the Sea Sol Dynamic Lifter Organic Liquid Fertiliser plus trace irons. And this is the second time I've done that, watered this bed with liquid fert, and this should really pull up good now over the next few weeks. It should come up real nice. Well, it is already, you know, but I only did it last night, so. And these little veggies have doubled just overnight with that fert, the liquid fert. But everything will respond really well, get much more healthy. What we've got to call. Yeah, that chilli bush has finally gone orange. Finally is orange chilies. So that seed supply got me orange chilies, but although they're kind of yellow, aren't they? Not quite ripe yet. But they're much bigger than the ones I wanted. So I don't know what's going on now. I'll have to taste them. Maybe they'll be better. But they're a lot bigger than the ones I wanted. Yeah, hopefully they'll be sweet and fruity and mildly hot. So there'll be more of those coming on soon. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, and these veggies here, because when you buy seedlings they're often really clumped up. when you buy seedlings at Bunnings. Oh, I'll get my breath back. Yeah, I was just saying, when you buy veggie seedlings at Bunnings, they're often clumped up, and you're sort of planting little clumps of veggies, and one or two grow well and everything else grows smaller in the shade. But now I've got this nice little nursery spot here, and I'll be pulling a lot of these plants out, putting them in the full sun soon. But this is a good little spot for my veggies too. I'll even be able to go for the most, buy seedlings that are the most clumped up with the most amount of little seedlings and separate them all. Separate them here and put them in the shade, and I get a lot better value out of the seedlings I buy. Separate them like I have here. See that Mizuna, I bought just one pot of Mizuna, and gee, it had a lot of plants in it. So I've got all them under that little mini hothouse, and there as well. Separated a few of those broccoli. So yeah, this would be a real good little spot for that. Perfect little spot for sorting out my veggies. And yeah, now I'm still sort of waiting on room. Still don't have enough room to plant veggies. But I plan on planting in these foam boxes. I'll just do a few of those. These foam boxes, just fill them with a bit of that sugarcane mulch and plant directly in that, and they'll be real easy to move around. They get me some more veggies over winter while I'm waiting to get this bobcat in. Oh yeah, and these papaya are just starting to get a bit of disease now, but that's what happens in winter. You can't help that. See, I think that's black spot. Spotty spots on the black spots on the leaves, and it'll lose leaves, it'll drop leaves. Can't do anything about that around here. Everything, all these papayas get sad and sick in winter, but they should come back just fine in summer. That one's still putting out quite a bit of fruit actually. Only 9 months. Setting fruit. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.